Continuing with musings, today my topic is nature as a muse. In the tranquil embrace of nature, where whispers of leaves and the symphony of streams reign, the spirit of Thalia, the Greek goddess of poetry, flourishes. So that itself explains why nature is a powerful muse, a powerful inspiration. Nature is, in fact, a feast for our senses. Nature is one that provides abundance of opportunities to create metaphors, to make our allegories and analogies in poetry. So many things in the world of an artist, be it a poet, a painter, a sculptor, a furniture designer, a home designer, whatever. Such a lot of inspiration comes from nature. So it's no wonder that many poets in English literature chose this as their muse. And in the Romantic period in literature, nature became more than just a backdrop. Nature became a source of inspiration. It was a source for renewal of spirituality. It was a source of going into deep personal reflection. And we have a lot of poems which kind of show this or display this. We have, imagination developing, because imagination here from nature is a creative force that allowed individuals to go beyond the mundane, everyday aspects of life and discover deeper truths. Nature also kind of became various things to various poets. For instance, to William Wordsworth, nature was a healer. He treated nature as something that healed his his mind when he was upset, or it provided a healing for many ail, ailing minds, I would say, not so much the ailing bodies. Also, for some poets like Shelley, nature was a force of transformation, and it brought about transformation in the mind, and that transformation which came out in the form of their writing, in the form of their poems, they in turn served to create this transformation in the reader's mind. They became sources of inspiration for so many readers. Poems that were written as reflections or in nature, poems that were written out of the wonderment of nature, which displayed spirituality, became a source of inspiration for a lot of people who read these poems. So we look at some of these examples, and I would like to begin not with the old masters. I will read one or two of the old masters, but what I would like to begin with is something that is very contemporary and something which is of today. An American poet, Mary Oliver, she happens to be one of my favorites these days because I have read a lot of Mary Oliver lately, and I find her poems to be one, very inspirational. Second, they always leave behind a deep message. The allegories and the analogies that she uses are not so obvious. So when you read them, you've got to reread them. You have to read between the lines that she has written in order to arrive at a conclusion as to what she wishes to tell us. So this is a poem by Mary Oliver, and it's called The Owl Who Comes. The owl who comes through the dark to sit in the black boughs of the apple tree and stare down the hook of his beak, dead silent, and his eyes like two moons in the distance, soft and shining under their heavy lashes, like the most beautiful lie, is thinking of nothing as he watches and waits to see what might appear briskly out of the seamless, deep winter, out of the teeming world below. And if I wish the owl luck, and I do, what am I wishing for that other soft life climbing through the snow? What we must do, I suppose, is to hope the world keeps its balance. What we are to do, however, with our hearts, waiting and watching, truly, I do not know. So if you look at it, she's talking about a bird. She's talking about a creature of nature. And incidentally, the owl, as mysterious as it is the source of inspiration for many different people. The owl acts as something that creates eeriness. The owl, to some people, brings about mystery. To some, it is a source of good luck. To some, it is a source of bad luck. So, the way you interpret something in nature is totally personal. And when you express this interpretation in your work, it affects the people who read or who watch your work. And then that interpretation changes the way they think. And that's what poetry does. Poetry changes the way we think. Poetry brings solace to us. Poetry brings some kind of peace in our minds. And these poets who have written sometimes when they have been rather disturbed, but they were in awe of what they saw. And that disturbance, inspired by the awe in nature, turned into some beautiful inspirational work. Now, I think many of you, as students in school learning poetry, may have come across two of these very, very simplistic poems, and they may have, of course, become favorites for you too. For instance, we all may remember William Blake's um, Tiger, or we may remember, for that matter, even Emily Dickinson's The Bird Came Walking Down. So I'll just read out William Blake's Tiger. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil? What dead grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Now, if you look at this poem, the poet is wondering about the creator who created a creature like the tiger. There's so much rhythm in the poem. Look at the easy, simple rhyme scheme, sorry. Look at the thought behind it. And at the end, a spiritual angle to the whole thing. because he talks about, did he who make the lamb also? So the lamb, which is the embodiment of anything that is gentle, the sheep, the lamb, and on the other hand, the ferocious tiger. But the same hand created both. So here you see this angle of spirituality and wonder brought into the description of something which is a creature in nature, and which we look at and we just look at it and we just think, okay, here's a creature, so what? Big deal. It's a tiger, right? We may admire the stripes on its body, we may admire its coat, and when you see its majestic self in the natural surroundings, we may stand there to wonder at it. But look at this poet, how he was taken by this creature and what he has created. William Blake, of course, is not contemporary. I mean, not really modern, but Mary Oliver certainly is. In her poem, too, about the owl who comes, there is a sense of, of the creator being present over there, and of leaving us with this thought that what are we to do with our own selves? That is the question she asks at the end. So if you look at it, nature can really be such an inspirer, such a motivator, and such a lovely muse to create upon. And here is another very simple poem by Emily Dickinson. A bird came down. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. And he then drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head like one in danger, cautious. I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode him softer home than oars divide the ocean, too silver for a seam or butterflies of banks of noon, leap splashless as they swim. you know, Such a simple thing. A sparrow, a little bird that just came walking down. She saw this, and there's this beautiful composition which has become immortal, has made Emily Dickinson immortal, in fact. And so you see many, many such poems that you can find on nature, and how they all go on to influence us. And I think that if you so wish, you would be able to just look around you and find so many sources which would inspire you to create. And that's exactly, I think, what Mr. Ghosh is also going to talk about, where you can use any subject to imagine, to draw a picture in your mind and represent it through any medium that you wish to. That's exactly what these poets do. They look at a subject, they imagine what they feel, they reflect, they want to share this reflection, they want to share what is going on through their minds, and that's how they create and give us this pleasure of reading it and imbibing it and enjoying it. So I'm going to hand it over now to Mr. Ghosh, who will take you through how we can actually develop the sense of imagination and creativity in the children whom we teach, or just by talking to children, what we can influence them to do.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Last session, I was describing a painting of a child. I'm quite sure many of you have a question in your mind. Why didn't I show the painting? There's a reason I didn't show it deliberately. I didn't show it. I'll describe that painting once more. It's the painting of a huge big banyan tree. Under that, few girls are playing hopscotch. Few girls are playing five stones, and two boys are swinging from the root of that banyan tree. One boy trying to pour water on a girl who is playing five stones and things like that. At a distance, it gives the impression it's outside or somewhere close to a village. Now, when I didn't show the painting, I wanted you people to understand how we people do who paint, how we design our painting. Uh, exactly this way, when we see the things, may not be all that seen I have seen in one place. Maybe things we have seen here, there, other places, but the tree and what can happen under the tree, etc., all that, first of all, we paint that picture, we draw that picture, assemble that picture in our mind. Whether it is a very, very realistic illustrative painting, or it is one of those abstract kind of painting. Uh, any painting, uh, it germinates in our mind and we slowly develop it. It may take maybe a few days, maybe a few hours, or maybe even more. But everyone doesn't do it in their mind. There are people who sketch and sketch and sketch many, many, many sketches, and then they mix and match, and then they make one draft, and then the same thing a poet does, same thing a novelist or a storyteller, a writer does. So, and again, but broadly, there are two types of people. One is they actually do it on paper, and another set do it in their mind. Now, going back to how do we teach the children to imagine things? I'll describe how I had been doing in last 40, 50 years. Now, today I'll take a topic as ice cream seller. Now, I'll tell the children to close your eyes. Maybe even you people can close your eyes and make a picture in your mind. Ice cream seller. Who is he? A man or a woman? A young man or an old woman? Or a small child? Where is he? In front of a school? During the break time? In railway station? In front of your house? In a fete? In a fair? In the meantime, even the children start giving the suggestions. Also, by this time, some children have started making they have decided their hero. They have decided the surrounding, whether it is going to be in front of school or etc., etc. It can even be in a posh looking ice cream corner where there are extremely modern, those softy machines, and only young college students, fairly wealthy kind of boys and girls, they are there. Now, depending on the class, depending on the age of the children, how old these boys and girls are. What is the age of the seller? There, the ice cream also will change according to the surrounding, whether it is a village fete in your house in the afternoon, or in front of a school, or in a five-star ice cream parlor. So a picture is slowly building up in your mind, what kind of picture you are going to do. It can even be added to, given them a suggestion, like a small child has come to buy ice cream with his grandpa. He got his ice cream. Another child comes with his brother. They buy the ice cream. And when he turns, he bangs his ice cream against something and his ice cream falls. Now they don't have money. Now this child cries. The child who came before him with his grandpa is worried and want to do something. And I stop my story here so that they can start thinking how they are, those who are doing this, or it may not be in the posh area, it may even be in the village or a school area where something like this can be given. And that gives them a very clear clue that ice cream seller doesn't mean it has to be only ice cream seller, a man who is selling ice cream. The entire surrounding, there can be almost a story in it. And of course, as the other day I was talking about, there has to be a center of attraction. Now, it can be the ice cream seller himself, or the child may think of making that child whose ice cream has fallen the main character. But in the painting, when you see the painting, your eyes should first go to that particular place, which is supposed to be the main character or center of attraction, center of painting. Every painting, whether it is figurative or it is abstract, has to have one area which is the main center of attraction. If it is not there, no, that means the person who has designed the painting has just done it, or it has happened. He didn't give enough thinking, or he did not allow it to mature. The gesticulation period was very less. So that's the way I make my children imaginative, that you can, whatever the subject is, you can allow your your way of thinking, your thinking to go absolutely wild, as I put it. Now, in our Indian system, this much is enough. But when I started teaching IGCSE, that is the Cambridge, there the children can go even a step higher. There I have seen, and I have seen children actually doing. Subject is breakfast. Breakfast can be, I have seen children thinking of actually breakfast table. I have seen people where an old man sitting and reading his newspaper, also his tea and bread is there. On the other hand, I have seen children, the logo of a confectionery shop. He designs, he is good at, he thinks, or maybe he thinks ultimately he'll become a commercial artist. So he takes the breakfast to the confectionery and he designs a logo for that. So that's the way things, one particular word can allow your mind to absolutely go burst out, as I call it. I think it's a thank you.
Thank you, sir.
When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Let's invite Jatin to take us into this world of music and let's attempt to understand this world a little better with what he is going to tell us. Jatin, all
Um,
yours.
Good evening, everyone. Um, okay, so for today, there are a few topics that
Good
I wanted
evening,
to
sir.
discuss about, and one more composer that I mean, like amazing piece that I have been listening from years now, and it's quite popular also. If you know about Canon in D by John Peckleville. But before that, I want to just have a quick recap of the last session. So we actually discussed about the dynamics, and in very simple term, if I will try to discuss about dynamics, then it's just about loudness and softness. Okay, how loud the music is going or how soft the music is going. Now, let me just share my screen, and I will just show you a few more things about the music writing. So when we start learning about music writing, there are a few things that I told. In the last class, I also discussed about the clefs. I will be explaining this concept later, but for now, I want to tell that once we start learning about the music writing, then yes, definitely there are some rules that are supposed to be followed properly. And if I'm saying that the rules that are supposed to be followed, for example, if I'm just writing a simple musical note, then if I'm just making this thing, we call it a we call it a head of a note. Okay, and I will be showing you with the example also later. And once we start adding other elements of this note, then there's a stem also that we are supposed to add. But if we talk about the stem here, then it is supposed to follow some proper length. If your stem is going above here or below here, then definitely it will not be considered as a right approach of writing the music. But it's all about the rules that are supposed to be followed initially, like you are learning how to write a music. and it's almost same as when we start learning when we learn about some new handwriting. For example, when if I take an example of a child of a kg or nursery, when they are learning how to write properly, then they are also provided with the proper page with the lines that like 4 lines or 5 lines for Hindi handwriting, and the particular rules are there that they are supposed to follow. Like in between these particular lines, your alphabet should enter. And let's take a look at this example now. Now you can clearly see that the lines are followed properly because the rules were there, and this is the computerized print. Like everything is created through a computer through the softwares. But when we talk about the natural handwriting, once music becomes your own language, then that's how composers start using it. It's a handwritten notes in the music. And you can clearly see the rules are not strictly followed. It's all about the feel, the things that are coming to the composer's mind. And this piece is actually particularly composed for the violin. But again, no straight lines, nothing, no. You can clearly see the stem is not even following the clear length that is supposed to be followed because that is a natural human handwriting. And this thing only comes when music becomes your language. Of course, like you can see the beauty of this handwriting here. Okay, so this I wanted to discuss a little bit. Making music your own handwriting, and for this, of course, you will need to learn some rules before start breaking them. Okay, and if we discuss about this handwriting and simple music writings, then at that like a few years ago when the internet was not very common, when the technology was not very common, people used to train their ears in a way that when they are listening to the music, they are writing the music at the same time. We call this process music transcribing. Okay, right now we have so many features available. Like I can play any music on a YouTube, I can slow it down, and I can start listening to it very clearly from note to note. And it will make this process very easy for me that I'm listening to some music and at the same time I've started writing the notes of it. But few years ago, this thing was not very common. So people actually used to train their ears a lot. Like on the spot, they are listening to some music. And you can imagine, like in some orchestra, if some composer is sitting and they are just trying to collect some ideas, they were not having any device or anything to record. So, in the way they used to train their ears. Okay, let's come to the topic for today that I have chosen, which is the melody and harmony. So, if we discuss about the melody, then what melody is and what harmony is. Melody is just a simple musical tune, you can say. Okay, the tune that is just a single musical line. For example, if I will give you a small example about the melody, let's say it's a violin piece here. The piece that I told you about, John Picklebell, Canon in D. I will be taking its example only, and I will be discussing about the timbre of the music also. So let's say this music is here. I'm just playing it. Let's see. Okay, I will be starting from this part. Since okay, so if we are discussing about this musical language that we call staff notation, so you can clearly see that I'm not talking about the understanding of the notes for now because that will be an advanced topic. But as a beginner, if you will try to look at the direction of the notes, you will be able to at least figure out where what is the direction of the melody, what shape the melody is taking. And if I will talk about the melody, then it's just a single sound that is there. Okay, and you can clearly see it's just a one sound. Okay, now if I will start from here again, then you can clearly see the notes are going from up to down, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now from here again, again the notes have started going up. So it is clearly showing this direction of the sound. From up to down, the sound is coming, and then again, and this is creating a kind of a wave which will make your music interesting. Coming down here, one, two, three, four. See, it's going like a wave. But and this is a very classic example of a melody. By the way, this piece is very famous, and this is the only piece because of which John Picklebell also got famous. He was a very good composer, and he was a German composer. His compositions are very lyrical and filled with melody. But this was a particular piece which had made him so much famous, and this piece is kind of common also because in so many ceremonies and at good times people use this kind of music. Okay, so one if we are discussing about the melody, let me tell you something about the timbre also. Like, what is a musical timbre? Right now, if we discuss about the musical timbre, then it's a quality of a sound, like what element was used to make the musical instrument, what is the nature of the instrument, everything is explained through the timbre. By the way, it's a very amazing software that I'm using here, and generally we use this software to compose our own sheets because it takes very less time and we have enough flexibility to change our instrument on the spot. So right now I was using the violin, but if I will start using a flute, then, of course, we know the nature of a flute, the material that is used for the flute. Generally, it's a steel or brass also. And in India, we have seen the flutes with the bamboo. Okay, so flute comes under the category of the woodwind. And I will take the flute one normally. Okay, let's see how it's going to sound again from this area. Okay, and with the harp, generally, if you don't know about the harp, then harp is a kind of an instrument which uses a plucking. Why I've chosen the harp? Because you can clearly see the difference in the sound now. It depends on the nature of the instrument. Again, I'm repeating. For example, the harp is a plucking instrument. Of course, the strings are used in it, but it is not having any hollow space the way the guitar, the cello, the violins have. So you can clearly see the sound. Then I will show you the harmony part of it. And please, when you are listening to this music, don't ignore the structure of the melody, the shape that melody is providing here, going up and down at the same time. By the way, I will share the original piece link later, but I have to cover one more topic after it. So let's jump to the harmony. Now, what harmony really is, a simple classic example, like when a single human being is singing, that creates a melody only. But if the multiple human beings start singing together, that will give an effect of the harmony. By the way, we also have an option to use a human voice here. Like you can clearly see, if I will try to use a human choir voice, it's a very beautiful effect that is generated here. Okay. So yeah, definitely. So it clearly shows the timbre, that is a quality of a sound, the quality of the material that is used. in the instrument. Or a simple example, if I will try to beat the metal, it will give me a different sound as compared to beating of a wood. Wood has a different sound. And here is another example, by the way, and I will be covering the harmony now. So for the harmony, I will be using this score here, which use two instruments. By the way, the instruments that were originally used here were the clarinet and the bassoon, flute and the clarinet. But right now, I will be choosing the violins because of the clarity, violin one and violin two. And you will be seeing now here two melodies that are together. Okay, it's not just a one sound, it's multiple sounds together. You can see one is this sound, another is the clarinet side. Okay, two clefs are also used, which shows the two different instruments. But by the way, I have changed the sound to the violin, so you will be hearing the violin. But try to focus on the shape of the melody here. So when two sounds are going together, it will give you some other feeling like harmony. If we talk about the harmony particularly, then harmony gives texture to your music instead of a melody. Melody gives shape, but multiple melodies create harmony and it creates texture. And we'll discuss about the texture. I mean, I will try to cover texture in the other classes because it's a whole different topic. But I would like to tell you this one more thing, that when you're listening to the music, try to listen to it with the respect of the click that is always followed by the music. Right now, subconsciously, we all listen to the music in that way. But if we technically try to discuss about the click, initially, I think Sir has also asked me like what that pulse is in the music. So if I will talk about the pulse here, then let's say I will be using the pulse with the music here. And then you can listen to the music with a relation to that constant pulse that keeps driving the music. So here's a constant pulse with the music. You can hear the click. Four, one, two, three, four, and of course, the sound of a violin, the sound of the strings with the pulse here. And what device we generally use with this pulse, we call this device a metronome. Okay, and right now we have a lot of digital devices that are available for the metronome, but initially people have a very classic analog metronome that we call. People used to use that device in order to train that timing. This is how we train the timing in the music generally. So for today, I will request everyone, like whatever music you are listening, try to listen to that music with respecting this pulse in that. That pulse will not be available in the music that you will listen, but you will need to feel that every time. Try to do it while listening to it. And since we were discussing about the timbre, that is, of course, the sound quality, then I had chosen another piece also. This piece was designed for the accordion, but I will try to make it in the piano voice. Okay. And grand piano, I had already chosen for that. So let's listen to the sound of a piano, like what kind of sound the piano produce as compared to the violin or any instrument that sustains the sound. Now again the metronome. pulse. 1, 4, 1. So this was just a very small example, like listening to the music with a constant pulse, which is a very important aspect. When if you try to enjoy the music also, like I'm not saying that enter to the technical aspect of the music only, but as a listener, if we are trying to listen to music and if you are truly looking forward to appreciate the music, because music appreciation is also a topic in itself. It's not just like we like some music and it's just done.
Absolutely right, Jatin. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, over to you, ma'am. I've seen that
That's
time is
what we
also
Yeah,
are
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
trying.
So thank you, Jatin. I think it made a lot of sense for us to know what timber is, and I think the staff notations and the way it was represented, and when you played the music, we could actually feel the flow by looking at how you took us through it also. Thank you for that. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Jatin talked about harmony in music, and I'm ending my session with something that pertains to all of us who deal with children, and this is harmony in the classroom. And the analogy is from nature and from harvesting. Harvest Home by Betty Spinner. In the ideal, it is a harvesting, this work we do, a reaping of crops grown from ancestral seeds, a gathering of first fruit from vines that trace their sources beyond geography, beyond gender, beyond the bleach and blush and black of skin, and root themselves in watery grace, in knowledge that nurtures us all. In the ideal, our classrooms fill like cornucopia, overflowing with the bounty of our grange. Life stories heaped among the texts spill into the hallways of our schools, crowd the sidewalks or the subways, altering the form of knowing, changing heads, changing hearts, changing history, bringing harvest home. Thank you, everybody, for sparing your time and being with us here for a session of music, art, and poetry. Good evening to everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session. Some feedback would help us. We got a lovely feedback from Meenakshi last week, Meenakshi
Thank you,
Bhardwaj,
ma'am.
that is. And I hope that we'll keep getting some feedback so that we can work upon improving ourselves and upon doing better. And sometimes when feedback comes to us, we with a little pat, that also makes us feel nice. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Jatin sir. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
evening,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you for the session.